Welcome to the Treat e-learning module on running the billing analysis. This is step 2 of a 3-step process for performing billing analysis in Treat. We recommend that you watch step 1, entering bills, before watching step 2, and follow it with step 3, truing up your model. This module covers the process for step 2, running the analysis. Before running the utility bill analysis, you must first be sure you have entered your utility bills. On the screen, we see a model with a full set of natural gas and electricity bills entered. In this module, we will review the details for each input necessary to accurately run the billing analysis in Treat. Let's start on the weather and default screen. On this screen, both the daily weather site and the heating and cooling seasons will affect the billing analysis. First, be sure that you've selected the daily weather site that is closest to your building. Select a location from the drop-down menu, and then select the Daily Weather Data button. This will show you the dates that are included in the weather file you've selected. You must have daily weather data available for the periods covered by the utility bills you've entered before the analysis can be performed. If the information you see here is not up to date, you can import the most recent file by selecting the Import button. The heating and cooling season determine the months during which the heating and cooling systems are available. Treat will fill in defaults for these inputs if you do not change them. Heating or cooling use during months that are not included in these seasons is assumed to be 0. These months may overlap. For instance, you can have a month that is included both in the heating and cooling season, or you can have a gap where months are included in neither heating or cooling. These inputs will affect both the model and the billing calculations. Now let's move to the general billing data screen. Inputs on this screen are required to run the billing analysis. Treat will fill in certain defaults that may be changed to help adjust the analysis results. Almost always, the defaults that you find on this screen will be sufficient to run your analysis. However, if you are having difficulty, you may need to make an adjustment. So let's go over these inputs. The first 3 inputs on this screen are used for reporting or when you are running the billing analysis independent of a model. For example, if you are running billing analysis and do not have a model entered, you'll need to enter a default conditioned square footage for your building, as well as a target heating energy use and a target payback. If you are using a model, these values will be taken from model calculations. For example, the conditioned area is taken from the spaces screen. The target heating energy use and payback are used to calculate the investment potential of a building. This is indicated on the Heating Energy Scorecard report and the Investment Guidelines reports, which you can find here. The heating and cooling month thresholds are more commonly adjusted to be sure you've accurately run your analysis. The values entered here are used to identify bills that do not have a significant heating or cooling use and are candidates for baseload estimation. Using the entered bills and the weather site, Treat calculates a heating degree day per month for each bill. If that value is below the threshold, that bill will be considered baseline only. This value depends on the building heat loss rate, reference temperature, and specifics of the heating system control. The cooling month threshold is more commonly adjusted. If your billing analysis is not calculating electric cooling use during months that you know there was cooling, this input may need to be lowered to accurately separate electric baseload from electric cooling use. In other words, if the threshold is too high, the billing analysis may calculate all electric use to be non-cooling. Let's move down to the advanced inputs. If there's a gap in the available utility bills that you have the option for Treat to calculate missing data. If you are modeling an apartment building or a building with multiple meters, you may want to use the first option. Use average meter readings of similar units for the same time period if available. For example, if you had utility bills for one apartment but not another that was of the same type, you would choose this. If you have a single meter building or single family home, you would want to disable this option. The second is to use average readings for the same meter for periods before and after the missing reading if available. You'll want to select this as first for most single family homes. In this case, if you were missing January, then the use for January would be calculated as the average of December and February. Because TREAT is averaging the missing months, you'll want to be careful choosing this option if you have a month that is significantly different from the surrounding months. Once you've completed this screen, the final screen necessary for running the billing calculations is the Analysis Period screen. The first step here is to give the billing period a name to help you identify it. The billing analysis will be performed for each fuel using the period that you define here. For best results, you'll want to include at least a year's worth of data. Be sure that the bills you have entered fully cover this time period. Enter in your start month, start year, end month, and end year. The billing analysis can be performed without a base building, or it can be compared to your base building or a package. If you choose to compare the data to your model, select this box. Next, you'll choose if you'd like to compare it to your base building or a package that you've created. Here we're going to compare it to our base building. You'll notice that selecting this has now grayed out all further entries on this screen. If you are not comparing to a base building, you'll need to fill in certain defaults, such as a default leakiness, heating and cooling reference temperatures, and a conditioned area. In this example, we are going to compare it to our base building. Now we'll save. Now we're ready to run the analysis. This can be done by selecting the Run Billing Analysis button here, or Calculate Billing in the feedback panel. Let's run our billing analysis. TREAT is now calculating the average non-HVAC or base load and heating slope by analyzing the utility bills alongside the daily weather site that we've chosen. When performed with the base building, we now see the heating reference temperature, heating slope, cooling reference temperature, and cooling slope calculated for the billing data. Once you've calculated, you'll now see in the feedback panel the disaggregated use displayed along with a % difference between the bills and the model results. Once this is calculated, the user can now see how well the model is representing the actual use of the home and adjust where necessary. For example, if the actual heating use is much higher than the predicted use of your model, you can now go back into the model and make adjustments to any entries you were unsure of. We call these adjustments truing up the model and recommend that you now watch that tutorial. Once you've trued up, you can feel confident about the energy use and energy savings presented for a building. This concludes our training module on running the billing analysis. Be sure to check out our website at treatsoftware.com. Here you'll find our additional e-learning modules, information on classroom and webinar trainings. You can download updates and find product information about the software. You'll also find a link to our help desk where you can browse frequently asked questions, search the database, and submit a question that you have about using the TREAT software.